to making their communities safer. The president is commuting the sentences of 1,500 individuals who were placed on home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic and who have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities. He's also pardoning 39 individuals who were convicted of 9 non-violent crimes. The Americans receiving relief today include a decorated military veteran, a nurse who has led response for a number of natural disasters, and an addiction counselor who volunteers his time to help young people. That's just to name a few.
That's Karen Jean-Pierre, the spokesman for the Biden administration, just one of two. We had the entire administration. She is there announcing this week on Thursday a set of pardons and commutations by President Biden, which is being measured as the largest at one time in the history of the United States. You heard something like 1,500 commutations, and you heard 39 pardons of decent people who served their time, and since they served their time, have been giving back their communities and doing the right things. The commutations of sentences came from mostly people who had been released essentially on good behavior during the COVID pandemic and have since been, it may have to go back to prison. He took the good graces to let those off. This is a good thing. I mean, I wanted to start this week with a good thing that President Biden is still involved, is still doing important things. I know we all want more, but it does sound like there may be more. If you listen to the rest of that press conference, she's talking about how we're looking at more commutations. Of course, they're putting through more judges, doing all the things we can do. We would all like to see more. We're all nervous right now. We're all a little scared right now. I can't tell you how much feedback I've gotten on that. The clock is ticking down to January 20th. Most of us are already looking at the holidays and what that'll entail this year in light of it all. And for the last few weeks, I've been having multiple conversations with folks, both in the studio and online and in person. And I've had a chance to ponder a lot of the things that we may have done right, may have done wrong, done differently, and how we can prepare this new reality that'll settle in next month. And I've got, I've sensed a lot of foreboding. I've sensed a lot of what angst and worry, as well as, frankly, a growing steely reserve among many of us. I had the privilege this week to fly out to Salt Lake City to speak to an organization called Better Utah, an amazing civic organization that encourages people to engage in their community and fight for a better community. I would just the absolute honor to be the keynote speaker at their annual breakfast. And it gave me a chance really to reflect on what we've been seeing and what comes next and what that matters. So I thought we'd do a solo show this week as we get ready for the holidays and discuss that, essentially what I talked to them about. And it's going to be kind of an overview of what we've been talking about. You may recognize some of the points already, you may not. But the most important thing is, where are we going? What can we do? Where we take stock and move forward? So with that, let's get on with the show. Welcome. I am Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy, the FP Moment, right here on the On Democracy channel, as well as MeidasTouch Network. We're thrilled to see you again this week. It's always great to be back here in the studio in Creve Coeur, have a conversation with you guys. Like I said, it's been a stressful few weeks since the election, and each of Donald Trump's new cabinet nominees that he's rolled out haven't made it much better. And there's growing concern that some of the pieces are being put in place that will challenge our nation's institutions and our democracy. And I'm well aware of that, as many of you are. We'll talk a little bit about that part of it at the end there with as you know, Mike Flynn suing me, or has been suing me, for $150 million, which of course I have just in my wallet, So when I went out to Better Utah to speak in Salt Lake City, I kind of want to, I tell you guys, I was originally supposed to go out and talk about campaign messaging, what we can do better and what we could do just to increase our margins and all. And of course, the election happened and it kind of went a different direction. And I had to talk about that election first and the way a lot of folks are feeling. And I get it. A lot of us had a hard time after the election. I don't know if I told you guys the story previously, but I did or didn't. But I got, I had a rough week that week, and I got out of bed Thursday. My fiance came in she kind of let me sleep in a bit, and I got up and I was running late as I usually do. I'm not a morning person. 22 years in the Army, I still don't like getting up in the morning. And there's a weekly veterans coffee chat that I participate in, run by a gentleman named Charlie Conrad out of Virginia. Really just a wonderful group of a mixture of veterans from every background you can imagine. And we talked every Thursday during the campaign season and organized and talked about what we were doing in our campaigns. And it's just a great place. Ended up being truly a wonderful group of friends. Started at 8:30 that morning, my time. I got out at 8:40. I said, I'll go on. And of course, there was everybody was kind of struggling a little bit. My God, Charlie, the organizer, was in the freaking hospital. This is how hardcore Charlie Conrad is in Virginia. This just gentleman, a little older than I am, was in the hospital in his bed running a Zoom. Okay, 2 days after the election. I mean, that's hardcore. That's a veterans for you right there. That's veterans organizing for you. And I was struggling a little bit. And while we're talking, my friend Caitlin Goodell Porter came on, and Caitlin has been instrumental in Virginia in fighting back against a decision that was made there. You may have heard about it, where the Virginia legislature decided to pull a very generous veterans education program out of the budget this year. And that program is very popular in Virginia. And what it involves is veterans who are 90 to 100% disabled can attend the state universities of Virginia for free, and so can their children. And this is a huge benefit to those who retire, like I did in Virginia at the time, to allow our kids to go to college. And when they pulled it from the budget, there was kids still in college and veterans who suddenly were without funding. It caused a lot of upset. I mean, people were upset. And they came together in Richmond to protest it. And while I was talking about how I was kind of hurting and what we were going to do next, Caitlin pulled up a picture from the protest they had just a month or two before in Richmond. And Caitlin said to me, she goes, "Fred, do you see this woman in this picture next to me?" And she was holding a sign, and she goes, "She's a Republican. She's like a MAGA Republican. And we worked together on this issue because it crossed party lines and it mattered to both of us. Both of us had children who were going to struggle with this. And they did stop this together." And, I walked away from that call and I realized we still have a fight to give, okay? And we're going to have to figure out our way because we have fight in us. We have the ability to unite on key issues, and we're going to have to go forward to oppose Donald Trump and his worst ideas. But, we face real danger with this administration. You don't need to see clips of Trump on this show, which, by the way, we've maintained now 4 weeks, I think, Matt, without any clips of Trump. I'm pretty damn proud of that, to include the Sunday show. So we've got a month without showing any Trump clips. But, Project 2025, as it turns out, he is familiar with it after all. $22 million effort to led by Heritage with 75 other groups, a wholesale restructuring of our government will be organized. They're talking about mass deportations, gutting the civil service, deployment of the military under the Insurrection Act. I mean, I could go on and on. You've heard these bullets before. Turning the DOJ applicable. My God, Kash Patel for the FBI. It goes on, Billy Long from Missouri to be the head of the IRS. There's just some really interesting characters being brought out, and there's real thing. And then the thing that really, really causes a lot of stress right now is talk of disbanding entire cabinet departments with this DOGE, this Department of Government Efficiency led by Vivek and Elon, saying outrageous things. Elon, the shadow president. In many ways, it's worse than when I wrote that list originally. So there's a lot of things to be worried about. So how do we start clawing ourselves back from this moment? It turns out we kind of know. If you guys have been watching this show, and a lot of you have kind of tuned out, and I get it, you may have missed a great conversation with Representative Greg Landsman. Greg Landsman represents Ohio's 1st District in Ohio, which I said twice, sorry. No edits here, it's live. So, Ohio's 1st District, which ironically is J.D. Vance's home district. And Greg Landsman was the first Democrat reelected in that district in 40 years. And he'd come on the show to talk about some of the ways that he did that. And some of those things he talked about are things that I have taken to heart since that conversation. And I think you should too. And some things he said that I'll reiterate is that we have to understand the moment that we're in. We have to understand this moment. And it's scary and we feel like we've been defeated, but we have to keep organizing. We have to find candidates and issues you can believe in and be all in on those issues, is what Greg said. None of us can fix it all, but we can find our passion and make a difference in our corner of this great nation. People are clearly frustrated with the economy and politics. We cannot deny that the economy and politics, be it right or wrong or true or false, was a key part of this discussion. Trump won big on that. He picked up voters across almost every demographic because of it. Folks cited the economy and immigration as top concerns. We're going to have to start meeting them where they are on these topics and finding answers that maybe we did not provide during the election. Having said that, I don't believe that people really do want the chaos and the extremism of the far right that we're seeing. Those voters don't want it. They don't want the cruelty. I keep hearing that over and over. And that includes on people on the right, because not everybody that voted for Trump is MAGA. We've said this before. I know it's hard to accept right now, but they're not. So we're going to have to care about everyone everywhere and show that the Democratic Party is the party of the working class, because somehow they may not believe that right now. And so that means we're going to have to show up in red areas like Utah, where I flew to, which is very, very red, represented by, of all people, based Mike Lee, and connect with those voters too. But as Greg said, and I believe as well, is that Democrats need to serve as the firewall against Trump's worst impulses and find ways to work with Republicans on bipartisan solutions to those problems, just like Caitlin did in Richmond. And that's going to be very hard. It's hard to see right now. And I know a lot of folks will shake their head when they hear that. But for us to defeat them, we'll have to. We had Crystal Quaid on the show over the last 2 years a couple of times. And Crystal, before she ran for governor of Missouri, it was the minority leader for the House of Delegates here in Missouri. And Crystal was in a super minority. Okay, they have a super majority in Missouri. And she was extremely effective at getting what Democrats wanted and getting rid of the worst impulses of the Republicans in Missouri through dividing and conquering them. Because you got to understand, they hate each other as much as they hate us. And so good work by our colleagues in the House and the colleagues in the Senate is going to be finding those divides and exploiting them against each other and using that to ensure they cannot get the votes. They've got less of a majority in the House now than they did before. The most useless and ineffective House in history now has less of a majority. So that's important. So let's talk about that messaging, right? Let's talk about the messaging that we had and what Greg felt about it and what I've talked about it since and what I've learned since the election. Democrats really do need a clearer message. We really do. And we have to deliver it to people where they are. So it's two pieces of the puzzle, I think, folks. And we've talked a lot about the message itself, but we also have talked a lot about how it gets to people. And I believe in retrospect, I don't think you can argue with me that for whatever reasons, people did not hear the Democratic messaging. And for whatever reasons, they didn't ever, so maybe they heard it, but they didn't receive it. And then for many reasons, they never even heard it. We found out since that Pew did a research study that showed that 1/5 of all Americans get their news from news influencers. They don't even watch news. I was in Utah and I spoke to a young man, a college-age kid. He's never watched cable news. He saw almost no Kamala ads because he don't really actually turn on TV, be it cable or otherwise. As I said, Democrats are the party of working class people, but unfortunately, we haven't necessarily governed that way, and we certainly haven't spoken the language that they hear. And that part, too, we have to keep things simple. I mean, come on, guys. We hate the message, but let's face it. It's super. I mean, I got pictures of the signs. Mac put pictures up. Mass deportations now. 3 words. Or they're eating the pets. Okay. I don't know how to overcome that. I mean, it's so simplistic. It's so much easier than say, I want to get you your first home at $25,000 down payment at certain layers of approval. I mean, Democrats have great ideas, but we do a terrible job of explaining them or just, in fact, explaining them. I was watching Wisconsin Democratic Chairman Ben Wickler, who's running for DNC chair, on the Daily Show this week. And I'd run a clip, but we'd probably get a copyright violation. So I'm not going to get a copyright violation from the Daily Show because I like him too much. But having said that, what I was fascinated by Ben, and by the way, he's going to be on the Sunday show this Sunday live. Ben Wickler will join us live on the Sunday show. And what he said, what was fascinating was he said how Governor Evers in Wisconsin, who is a Democrat, won in 2017, he ran on a basic platform. A single message was his #1 driving message when Evers ran for governor of Wisconsin. Fix the damn roads. Fix the damn roads. That was his #1 message, which everyone in the state can agree to. But here's what's key, and this is the part I talk about having a clear message and delivering a clear message. What then Governor Evers did is after he fixed the damn roads, he went across the state. He visited every county in the state of Wisconsin and talked to people about the roads they damn fixed, or I guess the damn roads they fixed, either way. And he talked about what else needed to be done. People felt heard. Every county, red ones. And so when he ran for re-election, in a Trump year, he tripled his numbers. He went from 1.1% to 3.3%, okay, which is still tight, but he won re-election because in a way he delivered a simple message and then he governed on that message and then he went through and emphasize the fact that he had accomplished these things. And let's be very honest, while Mr. Biden was one of the most substantive presidents we've had in history, one of the most impactful presidents administrations we've had in our history, he did not go out on the road and deliver that message to the American people of success. It's not enough to have Pete Buttigieg or on TV. It's not to have Vice President Kamala Harris go to HBCUs. We really do need a lot more to see. We need to see a lot more of our president pounding the podium, talking about their successes. And this is Joe Biden's Achilles heel in a certain sense, because he comes from a generation that doesn't believe in tooting your own horn, right? It's not appropriate. And because of that, he never did. And so he languished at 40% approval rating. People didn't know about the many accomplishments that were making a difference. It's scary to think about many of the infrastructure projects they're building are going to come online during the Trump administration, and you know damn well Trump will take credit for it. And then on top of that, we had Vice President Harris take over the run with only 107 days to overcome all that. It's just not enough time, because part of messaging is the right message, delivered the right way, and repeated over and over and over and over. In the military, we called it a drumbeat. You have to say, I think even Frank, I can't believe I'm going to talk about this. Frank Luntz. I can't believe I'm quoting Frank Luntz, but Frank Luntz did an interview just recently, the Republican pollster, and he said essentially that, you have to repeat a message and repeat a message and repeat a message and repeat a message. And the 10th time you repeat it will be the first time most people hear it. That is so true. And we didn't get that chance when you only have 107 days. Another thing Greg Landsman said that I totally agree with, because I host a podcast, is we have to do all the media that reaches everyone. This is why I talk about delivering the message to the right people in the right place. Democrats have to go beyond legacy media and TV. You got to do radio. You got to do podcasts. You got to jump on YouTube channel and shows, even ones that may be less friendly. Because when we go to them and we act normal and we speak honestly about our accomplishments, people have fun, by the way, have fun. Which is the reason I'm doing my Sunday show now live with comedians like Chris Titus this weekend. I'm doing that show live because it's fun, and we can't always be sticks in the mud. And our Democratic elected officials need to do that. Not to be judgmental, but you guys know I was one of the 200 creators that was allowed to go to the DNC, which was wonderful. And I was so appreciative of them. The DNC did a great job getting us there. But once we got there, contrary to popular belief of the media, we really didn't get a lot of access to a lot of people. I got the interviews I got because I was stalking out Media Row. I actually asked our creator group recently, how many of the 200 plus creators that were there got interviews or a moment with Vice President Harris? And the group could only come up with 3 names. And not one person had come up with the name of a person who got time with Governor Walz. So we brought 200 of these creators to the DNC and gave them media cards. But in the end, when we asked for permission to speak to the main people, the nominees, the head of the party, unfortunately, TV and print took precedence, and we were shuttered aside. It's not important. And that's a mistake. I'm just going to say flat out. Okay. I can't tell you how often I've reached out to candidates, elected officials, and tried to get them to come on these shows, and we're told we're not important enough. So, last thing I'll talk about that messaging. Have you guys ever noticed also how the other problem we have with messaging in the Democrat, and I kind of mentioned it briefly earlier, is how Democrats have the absolute worst habit of reading their policy proposals like a laundry list. Like, I've been to so many candidate events, and the guy's like, I'm so excited. Here's my 12 policy list. Number 1, and I'll tell you what I tell candidates that I work with, because I'm a consultant, and what I tell my candidates, especially when we're first starting out on their stump speech, we call it, I tell my candidates, great, it's good. You have to have policies. It's great. You don't have to read them. And finally, no one's going to leave your speech and remember your 12 policy points. They're going to remember how you made them feel. People are going to leave either feeling, oh, wow, man, I want to run through a wall for that guy or girl, right? Like Vice President Harris is, right? People were fired up, they're dancing. Or they're going to leave, well, that was interesting. He sounds really capable, okay? And then they forget what you talked about a month later or a week later, a day later. So while it's important to have policies, you don't necessarily need to read them, okay? If you remember the debate, I'm sure you do, the disastrous debate between Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump, if you remember, what happened was, at the end, a lot of us were hoping that President Biden would bring it back, that President Biden would come out for his conclusion and really just hammer home, hey, look, I'm not that guy. I have been doing good things, summary of all the good things he's done and how he could come back and how he's going to do a second term. It was a wonderful moment that he had a minute there, 2 minutes. He could have really hammered it home. Unfortunately, he had been prepared to read 3 or 4 policies he planned to implement as president the second term. And a lot of people walked away feeling like, what? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. We have to not just deliver the right policies, we have to create them in a message that resonates, but we also have to remember how we deliver that message to the right people in the right way that makes them feel like it matters and they matter. That's a lot. So with that, let's take a brief pause, get our sponsors in. We have great sponsors this week, and then we'll come back and talk about more. You guys, I take a metric ton of pictures. I'm not gonna lie to you. And from events and moments that I capture every day, from the pretty sunset to those really fun moments with my fiance and our kids, it doesn't seem that sometimes I feel like all of my favorite photos that are just stuck on my camera roll, right? And I think to myself, would it be great to have an easy way to share and enjoy them with my friends and my family, especially all my wonderful kids on the other side of the country? And that's where Aura comes in. It's named the #1 digital photo frame by Wirecutter. Aura makes it effortless to upload unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone, so your favorite memories are always within view into the frame. Plus, you can personalize and preload an Aura frame for a truly special, unforgettable gift this year. I love all the photos from our hikes. I love my goofy dogs doing goofy things. I've got a tortoiseshell cat that I take entirely too many pictures of. But at the same time, I really want to see those fun photos of my grandkids and their big moments. And that's what makes Aura so great. It's super easy to set up. It just takes 2 minutes to set up the frame using the app on your phone. It's a perfect gift, especially this time of year. There's unlimited private storage. I like it because it's private too, so it's not out there on Facebook where people can see it. And finally, it's fun. You have fun interactions. You can actually do like emojis and love a photo because there's 2 photo frames, one at their house and one at mine. So this year, saving the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code FRED at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code FRED. This deal is exclusive to our listeners and our viewers, so get yours now in time for the holidays. There are some terms and conditions apply, but you're going to love this product. Lumen's the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath, and on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guides to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even your stress management. Not that I have stress in my life. Now, all you have to do is breathe in your Lumen first thing in the morning. You'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe in before you go on your workouts, before you go for a meal. You know exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. So look, your metabolism is your body's engine. We all know this. You probably learned this in health class, right? It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. I've been tracking macros and nutrients and nutrition for years as I try to maintain my health as I age. Because your metabolism is the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, better moods even, if you will. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health right in your hand. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Fred. You'll get 15% off your Lumen. That is lumen.me/Fred for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring our show this week. We really appreciate you. And man, it's a great device. Man, we have great sponsors. I love my Aura frame. Just so you know, I just love them. So now let's talk about what we face. You know, we face an uncertain future. I can't sit here on the set in your camera, in your YouTube, hopefully you're watching this on YouTube. I can't tell you it's all going to be okay. I'd be lying to you. You know that. I mean, the folks out there, I said to them, I said, how am I going to tell you it's going to be great? You live in freaking Utah. I live in Missouri. We're super majority states of Republicans who are just crazy. The craziest shit going on. Did you guys see, I wrote about it in my Substack about the Missouri state senator who's put in a bill to offer a bounty program for citizens to be able to turn in illegal immigrants for $1,000 a proceeds. He's literally putting a bounty on the heads of average people. So they can hunt each other down. That's Missouri. So I can't sit here and say it's going to be okay. It'll be what we make of it, though. And I strongly people that while people are frustrating and you're feeling left out and you're feeling angry, the answer is not to demagogue each other. A common thing I'm seeing from the left right now is sort of a resignation, a surrender to the inevitable. But what bothers me the most is even more so is when people are saying things like, well, veterans voted for this, so they're going to get what they asked for. They're going to need to feel the pain, Fred. 65% of veterans wanted them. I use veterans as an example because I have one. But hey, I've also seen 53% of white women wanted this, so white women are going to get what they wanted. And there's like 47% of white men saying, what the hell, I didn't do this. And that's before we talk about the fact that not every eligible to vote voted and not every American voted. And when you do the numbers, only 23% of living Americans voted for Donald J. Trump. And I'm not willing to give up all those people who didn't vote for him, to include children, to include seniors, and people who just couldn't vote for reasons. I hate that they didn't, but a lot of people don't have the privilege a lot of us have. They couldn't get off from work. Whatever the reason is, they didn't vote. And we lost this election, and it sucks. But I'm not going to just throw my hands in the air and say, well, fuck it. They got what they deserve. Because they didn't. They didn't vote for this. Whatever this is. I ran the numbers and I told you that it's like 31% of eligible voters, 60 million people stay at home. So I don't know why, but I know they're going to feel the pain of what comes, but I'm positive that no one voted to shut down the entire Department of Veterans Affairs. That's not even in Project 2025. It's not. There's some shitty stuff in there, but nobody's talking about shutting down the VA, but goddamn, they're talking about it now. Old Vivek. Okay, nobody voted for that. Even the veterans who voted for Trump, and reasons I can't explain for the life of me, many of my peers did, not me, but they did. And so they didn't vote for that. So I believe in my heart, we're going to have to fight back, and we're going to have to figure out ways that we can look forward. So the demagoguery that goes with it is demagoguery. I'm sorry. Well, you wanted this. You wanted this. I'm a public figure. I'm going to take the shots to the face. But even me on Blue Sky, I've got people who are friends, progressives, coming at me. Well, Fred, this is what you wanted as a veteran. The fuck I did. I didn't vote for him. And all you're doing is alienating people we're going to need to beat back the worst things coming for the people who didn't vote for him. So when you accuse all of us of being guilty, you're making us all guilty. And you're just splitting us more. And by God, we're doing the work of our enemy. That's what we're doing. When we say those things, we are helping MAGA. Because you know why? They love it. They love us killing each other. They love us fighting each other. They love us eating each other alive. And they can sit back and laugh their little heads off. And we're giving it to them when we do that. So I urge you not to. So, Fred, what can you do? Well, luckily I made a list, right? You know me, guys. I make a list. First one, you've seen this map a couple times. I've actually updated. Matt, put the map up. 31 states have local and state elections. I've added Alabama since the first time you saw this map. Because someone, again, thank you, Blue Sky. Someone on Blue Sky said, Fred, you're missing Alabama because they passed a law in the last year. Their municipal elections are now off-year elections as well. So Alabama's now on that map too, having off-year elections. So 31 states starting in February. In Utah, they've got primaries in August for 276 positions in the general election. It's a lot of local races that need support. It's a lot of work that matters because local elections matter. I was so gratified to meet so many local elected officials in Salt Lake City who were so pleased to hear that because it really is. I spoke to one woman who was both a former mayor and a former member of Congress, and she got her start in running for mayor. The best part is that most of those municipal elections are nonpartisan. So you can run as a Dem or a Republican. They don't know. Maybe they'll know, but it's not on the ballot. So if you run a good race, you will not get rejected because it got a D next to your name. Because there is no letter next to your name except yours. So run for local office. and work with somebody else. Join a specialist group like the ones that support civil rights, LGBTQ, abortion, my group, Vote Vets. You can work with Vote Vets, Forgotten Democrats, my other groups that I'm working with. I know I got a lot of things I do. All these issues are going to be in the crosshairs, and all those folks are going to need allies and supporters to battle back. We're already seeing the attacks begin. They've put to take away transgender care in the new National Defense Authorization Act. They've already done it. We're going to have to run coordinated campaigns, even the local level. I've told you the stories before, but the school district where we live, we had a bunch of the Moms for Liberty school board members win. And the next year, because they have elections like every year in Missouri, the opponents of them, who again, it's nonpartisan races, but the normies banded together, 3 of them, and they ran as a coordinated campaign of all 3 of them. And all of them had the same sign. I had one sign with all 3 names. The normies, basically, is what they said. The signs are great. Hey, we're normal. We actually just want to run the school district. And all 3 of them won and defeated the Moms for Liberty candidates. And it got so good on that school board that one of those Moms for Liberty ladies just resigned because she couldn't get anything done, and it wasn't fun for her to be a minority. So when we band together at the local level, it works. And things you care about. I tell you, while I was out there, I had a wonderful dinner with my classmate from West Point, Donna Ventura McAleer, and her brilliant daughter, Carly. And Carly taught me all about the Salt Lakes, the Great Salt Lake drying up. I don't know if you guys have heard this story. I won't go into deep into it because Carly wrote an article about it, but it's disappearing. It's disappearing because of a lot of reasons, but a big part of that is the farmers are getting too much water, or enough water they need, but the amount of water they're using for agricultural upstream from the Great Salt Lake is causing the lake to disappear. And I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I remember flying to Great Salt Lake Salt Lake City when I was deploying overseas, and the lake was almost all the way up to the city. Guys, when you take off out of Great Salt Lake, look at Salt Lake City. When you take off out of Salt Lake City now, you're going to fly for a while before you see water of measure. It's streams where it used to be a lake. It's drying up. That's an issue that all of us can care about where you live. Where you live, there's a river in trouble. Where you live, the oceans are polluted. Where you live, the mountains need preservation. If you care, your community is a great place to start. Join a civic group like the organization I was visiting, Better Utah. They're nonpartisan, but they are dedicated to making a better community. So they have like a civic engagement guide. They have a grade system for their electoral officials. They have an anti-gerrymandering program. There's civic groups like that all over the country. Look them up in your area. They need your help. Write and call your senators. Demand hearings that all these Trump nominees are properly vetted, including and especially Republicans. It's going to come down to Republicans, folks. But I think I heard a rumor that Fetterman is saying he's going to support Hegseth. Are you effing kidding me? Hegseth's a monster. Hegseth's a monster. Okay? Not only is he an alcoholic, he's accused of sexual assault. Not only has he said horrible things about women serving in combat. Not only has he said horrible things about gay members serving in the military at all. He's also completely unqualified for the job. The largest organization he ran was a platoon, for God's sake. The 2 organizations he did run, 2 nonprofits, he was run out of for mismanagement and sexual harassment. He has no business being the SecDef after we white off all of his assaults. We have to fight back. To include Democrats who are going to waver and think that he's a cool dude. He's not. They're not. Still write letters to your op-eds, write letters to your paper. Support alternative media like the MeidasTouch Network and especially the On Democracy Network. If you can support an On Democracy channel, sign up for our Substack, pay for it. If you got free ones like my friend Jess Piper does, pay them. If you can afford to pay them to do the work so that we can keep on fighting and fight off lawsuits, whatever we have to do, join these alternative media because that's what Democrats are going to need to do. We need more alternative media to fight back on the right-wing ecosystem. We also have to demand accountability from our own side as well. And that's things we're going to do. And you'll see that. I think this Sunday, I've got a guest possibly coming on who's been having a hard time. We're going to have a very direct conversation. We have to have those conversations. It's not disloyal to question your own side's misstep. We have to figure out what went wrong if we ever hope to turn the tide and win again. I talked about earlier about coordinated campaigns. We also have to form coalitions. We all know the left is no monolith, okay? We all have differences. Go on Blue Sky on any given day. I have people that love me because I'm a veteran. I have people that call me a Islamophobe because I'm a veteran. I've got, we are a diverse group, okay? And that's okay. But we're going to have to find a way to work together to defeat the worst instincts of the MAGA movement. And that's going to mean forming coalitions that are uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Form them. Don't give in to despair and surrender, okay? Don't obey in advance. It's easy to do. It's easy to lay on the couch. And finally, you don't want to hear this one. Excuse me. You don't want to hear this one. Vote. I know. Every time I say that, people are like, oh, goddamn Democrats saying we should vote. I hear you. But we still have to vote. And I gave you a reason to vote. 31 states are having local and statewide elections. If we win Virginia governorship and the New Jersey governorship, if we win a lot of local races, the partisan ones, and we win the Supreme Court in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, we send a very direct message to Donald J. Trump and the MAGA movement the very first year they're in office saying, we do not submit. We do not obey. You do not have a mandate that allows you to do whatever you want. That is unacceptable. Okay. And so voting still matters. Voting at the local level matters more than ever. And 31 of you states will have elections that you need to be on. If you're in a blue colored state in that map, you need to get involved because voting does matter. Voting is not over. So look, I'm going to resolve this way. This. So for those of you who watched the show before or read my Substack, this is my only tattoo. Only one I got. Maybe I'll get more someday, but I'm old. I only got this 5 years ago after I was going through a very hard time. When I finally sought treatment for my PTSD, and I got divorced, which is, I guess a vet thing. And I got this tattoo. And this tattoo, if you can't read it on the TV or your YouTube, says, I'm not done yet. And it's written in a computer font because it's written that way because I was retiring from the Army in 2010. And I was upright, or 9, I guess. And I was upwriting my speech. If you've ever been to a military retirement ceremony, it reads like it's like a funeral for a guy or a girl. I was writing my own eulogy at 44 years old, which is kind of young. And 44, yeah. And I waited till midnight to write it because there's an old joke at West Point. If you wait to the last minute, it only takes a minute. And I realized I hated my speech. And I deleted the whole damn thing. I just wrote those words down. I just wrote these words. I'm not done yet. And my point then was that I've had this incredible experience, some good, some bad. I mentioned PTSD and loss. I lost 2 wonderful soldiers and dear friend Iraqis who were killed. And of course, my first wife. But in the end, while I was putting that career behind me, I wasn't done yet. That I still, at 44, had much ahead of me. And I think of that a lot. And I put it on my forearm for a reason. So I see it every day. And I'm not done yet. Okay? You're not done yet. And that's my point. We're not done yet. And I know we're still stinging from defeat. It's been a month and a half. And we're looking at impending doom with January 20 approaches. But you've got to remember, we're not done yet. This country remains steadfast. The Constitution remains, and it will be challenged, and Donald Trump will challenge it. But we will not submit. We will not obey, and we will not quit. So more than ever, suddenly, my tattoo matters. If you look closely, you see there's like a big scar across it. When I had a tough day one day, I actually broke some glass and cut my arm open, and I almost scratched out. Not. There's a reason there's no punctuation. Some days it's a period. Some days it's an exclamation point. And some days, like November 7th, it's a question mark. But I'm convinced now more than ever that we're not done yet. So take a break, dust yourselves off, enjoy your holidays with your family as much as you can, and you will. To take those moments, cherish them because we don't get them very often. And then when we start the new year, I expect you back here ready to fight with me. We'll still be doing shows. I'm getting some back surgery in a couple of weeks. Matt and I will tell you about that next week because why not? And but in the meantime, we have work to do, and we're going to need to be rested and motivated when we get back. So with that, I'm not done yet. The last thing I want to talk about before I let you go is the Flynn case. My phone's been ringing while we're on the show. I want to let you know that that Flynn has lost his case to Rick Wilson. If you didn't see the news, if you know the history, I was sued by Michael Flynn for $150 million over what is now one single tweet 3 years ago. He sued Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project, my friend Rick, for a similar, almost the exact same tweets, but in a different environment in state court. I'm at federal court. It was dismissed by the state court, and then Flynn appealed it to the Florida Court of Appeals. The Florida Court of Appeals issued their ruling on Wednesday of this week, categorically denouncing his standing on several points. One, he's the quote quintessential public figure. Two, it was true. Three, he was wrong. And so they actually told him he has to pay Rick Wilson's lawyer fees for this. And there's more to come because Florida does have an anti-SLAPP law. The federal judge had told us 4 months ago that our case was tied to that, and that when Flynn lost that case or won that case, he was supposed to immediately let the federal court know, and then our case would follow the ruling. So in all measures, I should be hearing any minute now, hopefully, that this nightmare over a year of lawfare with Michael freaking Flynn, disgraced failure of a general, that the lawsuit he sued me over a single tweet is over. So I'm hopeful that that's true. So maybe we'll have some good news by the time you see the show on Friday night. In that, you can still find more information if you follow me on Blue Sky at fpwellman.bluesky.app, whatever it is. I still am hanging on to Twitter, but I'm not there very much. You're best finding me at Blue Sky. Of course, our Substack continues to grow. Again, FP Wellman. I'm so easy to find. Just FP Wellman everywhere. We really appreciate you being here. I hope I didn't bore you to death. These are important things to think about as we go forward. I fully expect you to take a break. We'll be back next week with a guest probably, and we'll keep moving. In the meantime, I hope you'll tune in to our Sunday show, On Democracy Sunday, live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on all the On Democracy channels and my personal social media channels. We're going to talk to Chris Titus and his wife, Rachel Bradley, are going to be on the panel, so that'll be hilarious. I did find out on the way here that it looks like Ben Wickler is going to join us, the running for DNC chair, and I'm waiting to hear from a congressman who's been in the spotlight lately. Hopefully, this member of Congress will join us as well. That's a hell of a show, y'all. Free on YouTube right here on the On Democracy channels. I will see you then. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, I'm not done yet. Neither are you. We'll see you next week.